We're back now with an NBC10 investigation. Correction officers inside our state prisons are getting assaulted and doused with bodily fluids at an alarming rate. This in the wake of a brutal attack on one officer that almost took his life.
Our team of investigators has been digging into this problem, and our Kathy Curran has been wrestling with the Department of Correction over records and access for almost a year. Her report is new at 7.
The Department of Correction repeatedly told us data and records related to assaults on correction officers didn't exist, even though we've received this information in the past. They finally turned over the numbers they didn't want you to see that show a rise in the number of assaults. And this all comes after one officer was almost killed in a violent attack.
I don't really luckily remember, but I can kind of have an idea.
Emotions flow as former correction officer Matt Tidman tries to recall the extremely painful memory of a vicious attack inside the walls of MCI Shirley that almost ended his life back in 2022.
Just thankful to be alive and able to keep them thriving.
Tidman only had an hour left on his shift at the medium security prison when he was brutally beaten with a metal bar from the prison gym, allegedly at the hands of convicted murderer Roy Booth. Matt's skull was crushed, leaving him with a traumatic brain injury and blind and deaf on one side. He was in a coma for weeks. Do you remember waking up?
Yeah, my family was, there from the day it happened and talking with a person that they didn't know was going to survive or not.
Tidman's assault highlighting the dangers in our prison. The data we finally received from the Department of Correction shows there have been 711 cases of assaults on staff in state prisons where inmates were found guilty during the past 3 years, 25 with serious injuries. The largest number unfolding inside the state's most secure prison, Sousa Baranowski.
The uptick in violence has just gone beyond anything we've seen before. Officers continuously getting assaulted with bodily fluid, getting punched and kicked.
The rise in the number of assaults comes 5 years after the state's sweeping criminal justice reform aimed at providing rehabilitation for inmates and lowering the incarceration rate.
I think we can all agree rehabilitation is important, but it has to start with that inmate. That inmate has to want to be rehabilitated.
While the prison population has plummeted in the last decade, overtime has skyrocketed, with COs forced to work 16-hour days on a regular basis because there are fewer officers on the job.
It's stressful, mentally taxing. We don't feel safe.
This veteran officer, whose identity we're protecting, says he was assaulted and blames the reforms for increasing the risk.
And a lot of those guys that were doing lengthy time for heinous assaults are now in general population.
What's your biggest fear?
That somebody is going to get killed. According
to recent reports obtained by the NBC10 investigators, an inmate inside Sousa threatened to kill COs. 4 officers were hit with urine and feces in less than a week. The climate is so dangerous, even counselors fear for their safety.
It's absolutely mayhem in that place. And we're so demoralized that it's tough to even come into work now.
Conditions inside our prisons leading to a call for action from state lawmakers to try to stem the tide of violence. After Tidman's attack, a bill was filed to ban free weights and secure gym equipment.
Please don't let it happen again to anybody else.
State Rep Mike Soter and others who recently toured Sousa say more needs to be done because lives are on the line.
If we're not proactive, somebody's going to get either severely hurt again, somebody's going to lose their life. If we're going to be reactive, it's going to be too late.
Something echoed by this former CO who fought his way back and miraculously survived. You sitting here, everyone says it's a miracle.
They're saying Miracle Matt. I'm hoping that this kind of sheds lights on a lot of the things that really happen and the impact.
A DOC spokesperson tells us one staff assault is too many and that the department is committed to the safety of everyone in our prisons. Advocates for inmates say poor conditions can increase violence. Roy Booth pleaded not guilty in Tidman's case. Kathy Curran, NBC10 Investigators.